This is the Nathan, Nat and Sean podcast.
Nathan, Nat and Sean, Nat back on Monday. Filling in for Nat, Emma O'Driscoll. Been chomping at the bit to speak to the Premier, haven't you? You've got so many Premier questions.
Definitely. I actually already called him Rog, so we are on nickname basis.
Hey, Roger, how are you?
I'm well, really well. Great to be here.
What do you think of our new studio,
It's
Roger?
looking very flash.
You've had an issue, though.
Well, it's a bit bright and sparkly, and the chairs are too high.
Should have seen him right then, right? It was like when a toddler is trying to get up a step ladder.
I needed a step ladder.
And then Emma, what did you say?
A sausage dog. He needs a ramp.
It was like when a sausage dog's trying to get food off the bench.
I'll tell you what, the respect around here is extraordinary.
I know, I was thinking that. It's the number one there.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about this fine state right now, because there is an article that came out overnight that has blown us away, and that is Australia is home to 7 of the top 100 most boring tourist attractions in the world. We have 2 of them here in Perth, apparently. The Bullabada Museum is at number 16, and the Bell Tower is at number 98.
I think the museum's not too bad, Rog.
This is bollocks, right? This is complete rubbish. So basically, these guys have gone out and done some sort of search on Google feedback or reviews on
keywords such as lifeless, boring, stuff like that.
And so we know that this is complete crap. I mean, Bullabada is an amazing museum. It's our newest cultural institution. It's incredible. You go in there, you feel alive, you feel really immersed in all the exhibitions. So I'm not quite sure where this is all coming from, but I reckon it's complete bollocks.
Well,
okay,
to be honest though, I did take my parents and they wanted to leave after 20 minutes.
But they wouldn't line up for the Louvre. Your dad wouldn't line up for the Louvre.
Yeah, my dad wouldn't line up for the Louvre, and we didn't get off the bus for the Eiffel Tower either.
Or Home and Away might have been on.
Yeah, Home and Away might have been on. Yeah.
Roger,
It's about priorities.
You can't defend the Bell Tower, though, because that's at 97.
No.
That's going to be a tough sell. I'd like to hear it, though.
Well, look... in some respects, I'm not a huge fan of the Bell Tower. I really think it plays a role, though, in our city.
Okay.
And from that perspective...
Yeah, I mean, there was a spot for something. We might as well put that there.
Well, for people who dig it, it's actually a really exciting and interesting facility. I've been to a few events there. It's a great setup.
Yeah.
The problem for it now, of course, is that the city is growing up around the Bell Tower.
And now it's just this tiny little, it's like a little thumbnail.
Exactly. But for those people for whom, the bells and the tolling and the history of it and the history of those bells are important, it's actually a really quite compelling facility.
Yeah, but that's 2 people.
Most of these reviews, though, from the Bell Tower, and I'm going to be fair to the Bell Tower right now, they weren't people that paid for the Bell Tower experience. They were people that just went and checked it out and had a look.
Oh, okay. You've got to go in.
So once you're in there and you're swinging off the bells and stuff like that,
almost none of these reviews are people who actually organised tours.
Yeah. Can I tell you the most boring thing that I've done around the world is I was in Kuala Lumpur and Mum and I were like, let's go do a tour. We said, all right, no worries. And I don't know why, for the life of us, we thought this was the one for us. But we hopped on a tour, Roger, and we went to a rubber tree, the last rubber tree in Kuala Lumpur, which is in the middle of a roundabout, if I remember rightfully. And you just get on the bus and you just drive around it.
Oh, you don't even get out to see it.
Oh, no, you can't. There's too much traffic.
Rubber trees have their role to play in the tourism industry as well.
They really do. You've gone all around the world. Have you been hosted somewhere in another country and they've taken you to something and you've gone, oh, come on, this is pretty boring.
Every West Australian will relate to this, right? It doesn't matter where you go, what you do. You'll never find better beaches. You'll never find better weather. You'll never find more awe-inspiring, bushland and landscapes. This is where it is. So if you leave Western Australia to go try to sample those sort of things, you'll be disappointed. This is an incredible part of the world.
Roger, I've been watching the WSL live, and I saw you on the other day and speaking to Kaipo, saying that you've extended, the state government has extended the World Surf League coming to Margaret River to 2028. They do such a great coverage and showcasing the West Australian coastline and everything it has to offer. I think they do an amazing job. But here's the thing. What other events are we going to have? Gather Round has just taken centre stage over in Adelaide, and Em, you'd be absolutely familiar with this. Harry was over there just recently as well. That's a massive event for Australians. I know this is on a global level. When are we going to get a big event that sticks around that we can grow and grow and
That's
grow?
ours.
Right. Yeah, well, that and obviously, Gather Round. The South Australia's got that till 2026. So
we're never going to get that.
Well,
not a chance.
Stand by for those sort of developments. But as you know, we've brought Coldplay, UFC, WWE. these are really big events which attract visitors not only from the East Coast but from Southeast Asia. And we want to be one of the great event destinations of Southeast Asia, which is the reason why we're building up all these competitions, these events, because it attracts tourists. So let's take Surf League, for instance.
Yeah.
So they've got a social media footprint of about 60 million. So when I went there, it was a bad day, so there was no surfing done. But that's okay. They go playing golf. They go to cafes. They tweet about it. They put it on Instagram. So it's a great promotion event. But it brings 3,500 visitors to Western Australia, and it injects $8 million into the local economy. So that's just World Surf League. What the Margaret River Pro is now going to hang around for another 4 years. So that's a great event to have locked in. But we'll continue to hunt. We'll continue to look at what other opportunities there are.
So I'm bringing up those events, like you're saying. So Coldplay one-off, WWE awesome one-off, but. You know, you want to like
a regular.
You want to Coldplay. Now that they've done it once, we force them to do it every year.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing. So every January, people go to Melbourne to watch the Australian Open. They come from all around, and I'm not sure how you weigh up the Australian an event Australians go to versus. Event the world can see and go for. Do you kind of weigh those things up against each other?
Look, there might be a bit of a nuance, but we're pretty agnostic. What we want to see is dollars coming into WA. Okay. That's really what it's about. We've had our international festival of football every winter. Manchester United, Leeds, and Chelsea, and so on, and Tottenham, unfortunately, but there you go.
Oh, Amy, our producer. Are you kidding me? Amy, how are you feeling right now?
She's a mad Spurs fan.
She's pretty angry. She's looking angry.
A little bit aggressive there, Rod.
Take it down a scotch, mate. All friends here.
Well, one of my besties is a Tottenham fan. I barrack for Arsenal, you see. So
okay, you've got to go against them.
Yeah. But so, I mean, we do have those regular events, but we're trying to build up homegrown events. So Evernow is an Aboriginal Spring Festival, which we started last year. We'll run into that again this year, starting to build its profile, a bit like they did with Vivid in Sydney.
Yeah.
That took about 4 years before Vivid became a proper festival, which really attracted international and interstate visitors. So we're starting to build that collateral of festivals which continue to bring people back from year to year.
Rog, what we've seen over the last week or so in New South Wales has been horrendous, right, with the stabbing attacks, particularly the one in Bondi, which we'll talk about now for a second.
Sure.
And it comes down to the mental health the mental health side of things, where people are saying, do we have enough funding? Is there enough people out there to be able to help situations like that? Because you can't, have security guards everywhere.
We can't. Because you turn into America then.
From a state's point of view, are we at the level we need to be at?
Well, we've increased the mental health budget by 50%, so we now spend $1.4 billion a year on mental health services, and we just recently boosted suicide prevention services by another 9.8 million last year alone. You can pour money into this. You can create as many beds as you like. Really what you want to do is to get services out there in the community, those wraparound supports that people need to keep themselves mentally healthy. But there's just sometimes people will come out of the system, they're continuing to manage their mental health issues, but then something snaps. And that is so hard to guard against. So what we also need to do is to make sure that we've got the appropriate laws, the appropriate safety arrangements, so we can mitigate against those sort of situations. But look, Bondi Junction, that was an extraordinarily horrific and tragic set of events, and I think it's touched everyone in Australia. And our hearts go out to everyone there.
It touched me for the victims, but also it touched me for his parents as well. Because seeing them on the news, you would have seen them on the news, and the father was just pouring his heart out, saying there was nothing more I could have done.
No,
and they said, and the problem with mental health, especially with people that are on heavy medication, is that medication is doing well for them, but they don't feel themselves. They feel groggy, and then when they come off the medication, they feel themselves. So then they feel like it's so hard for the families to get them back onto the medication that they need to be on.
And these are confronting issues.
Yeah,
I guess then, is it about the accessibility of these mental health resources that we've got, or is it actually about the individual wanting to go and seek help?
Well, it's a bit of both. Sometimes, in the mental health services, and it's reality that sometimes you have to take people into into a facility to look after them, keep them safe. But our desire is obviously for people to be able to live in the community and live happy, healthy lives. And so that means that you need to have those wraparound services in the communities in which they live. And this chap had left his community in Brisbane, or Toowoomba, had moved to Sydney. He was in a big city. He was potentially isolated. That, as you were saying, Nathan, maybe he was tipping out of his medication regime, and that led to that dreadful series of events. So, we just need to continue to make sure that we invest in these services and help keep people safe.
I think, we have to touch on cost of living, Rog. This is the thing about being in WA, and I've spoken to some friends about it, and their frustration is that we're a very rich state here, and they feel like being a rich state, we're not really feeling the benefits in people's hip pockets when it comes to cost of living. I explain cost of living at the moment like the head of Hydra. So that's that creature that has many heads, like a snake with many heads. And once you cut one off, once there is there's a discount given by the government, or you've worked out that medication can be cheaper, then 5 other heads grow back.
Fuel, as we know right now, boom.
Yeah. So the government, I can see, is trying to squash this, and this is both state and federal, but every time there is something put in place to reduce the costs of something else, 5 other things go up, and people are chasing themselves. There is an article that I read yesterday, the most heartbreaking thing. It was a woman an old lady in Melbourne. The amount of times, let me ask you guys, have you been to the supermarket these days and you've seen someone just walk through with a trolley load without paying, and the staff have got powerless to stop them?
I've done it 3 times.
So that's happening more and more, right?
Come and get me, I say.
And the staff are being told not to do anything because it's too dangerous, and they just walk out there. Yep. This is a shot of an old lady in a supermarket. She is being arrested by the police, and they have pulled out of her shopping thing, which she has stolen, is milk and a couple of frozen meals. And that is where we are at the moment. So for instance, this week we've just launched our WA student assistance payment. That's $250 or $150 for every $250 for every high school student, $150 for primary kindergarten students, for every family. 80,000 families have applied for that. So we're continuing to look at all those opportunities. We've just come off our free summer of public transport. And last year, of course, we had our electricity rebate, which put $400 back in everyone's pockets. We're continuing to look at those opportunities. As you say, it's hard.
Right across the community, people are facing these sort of cost of living challenges, and not just in the city either. That's why we've got our capped regional airfares program, which is about helping people in the regional Western Australia also deal with the cost of living issues.
Can you be really honest with us right now? Are prices, are they going to come down? And I'm talking in general, because since COVID, it started at COVID. Remember, COVID, suddenly all the prices started going up, and there was supply chain issues and all this sort of stuff. And then we thought, oh my God, we just have to ride COVID out. And then COVID's finished. And then suddenly the prices keep going up. And I cannot foresee any governmental inquiry about supermarkets. I cannot see any big plans.
Happening, by the way, the one at the supermarket's happening.
But I cannot see any of these things bringing the prices back down. I think that we are going to have to get stuck and used to paying these high prices.
Well, that's what you've...
Is there a light at the end of the tunnel at all, can you see, in your professional opinion?
Yes, well, inflation is coming down. And it was because of inflation that you saw interest rates increase so significantly over the last 18 months. So inflation's coming down. The economists are saying at the back end of this year or early next year, you'll see interest rates start to back off as well. So we are getting to a situation where we see more balance in the economy. But these are the long-term impact of the imbalances that were created through COVID. In Western Australia, we have the double impact of that. We are the fastest growing economy in Australia at the moment, and the fastest growing population. So last year alone, we had 94,000 people came to Western Australia to call it their home. That's like putting an extra Bunbury into the state.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of pressure in our economy at the moment because it's growing so
housing.
fast.
And that's exactly the reason we put up the Rotto prices. Is that right? 20%.
We'll come back to Rotto, but that's what's impacting on the housing and things like that.
What's happened with Rotto?
Mate, we put up the prices at the drop of the hat. You come back to the cost of living, Nate, and the government have a lot to say. Well, the Rottnest Island Board, they're governed by the government. And you're popping the prices up by 20%. That's
Well,
a minimum.
Well,
Roger?
even Rodder has to pay the bills.
I reckon put the quackers to work. Yeah. I'm sorry, we've got electricity problems as well. They got little legs.
stay
They can,
rent-
and a
rent
big
free.
hamster wheel just pumping out the electricity
We
for
would,
us.
but lately the Quackers have got themselves organised. They've got themselves a trade
Oh,
union.
see, this
and,
is disgusting. This is when workers' rights have gone too far. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
our
Roger.
Premier Roger Cook.
Great to see you guys.
Thanks a lot, mate.
Nathan, Nat, and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.